Hey Valley Metal, welcome back to another math video. Tonight we're going to be finding the surface area of prisms. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at our just for fun trivia question. How many footballs are required for an NFL football game? We'll be back with the answer to that trivia question after our instruction tonight. Well, officially our target is, I can find the surface area of a prism. Let's do this thing. We'll start off tonight with a real life example here. We need to find the surface area of this tent. Well, we could be thinking about this is we need to find the amount of material required to make this tent. So, well, what we really have to do is we have to think of this tent as a collection of shapes. So if we think of the bottom of the tent, of course, that would be a rectangle. The two sides are rectangles. And then we have these two triangular ends, or the bases of the triangular prism. We just need to find the area of those and add them all up. So let's do this. The base is 8 feet by 7 feet. So if I multiply those together, I get a total area of 56 feet squared. The two sides, they're 5 foot by 7 foot. So each of those will come out to be another 35 feet. And here's another 35 feet down here for the second side. Triangles are a little more difficult because we have to figure out the base times the height. So we have 8 times 6. It'll be half of that, which is 24. So now I've got all 5 of my measurements. I always like to count, make sure I have the right number of sides. Triangular prism has 3 sides, 2 bases. There's my 5 shapes. Pop them in, add them all up. You have 174 feet squared. That's not too bad, huh? All right, let's take a look at our word today. And I bet you could have guessed it. It is surface area. That's the total area of the exterior of a solid. I know we've reviewed this before, but I always like to think of surface area. I like to think of the Rubik's Cube. You think of each one of those little squares as being a square unit. The measurements of this, we got 3 units this way, 3 units this way, so we have a total of 9 units on each side. There are 9 square units on each side. We have a total of 6 sides. If we multiply those or add those all up, we have a total of 54 units squared. Or it would take 54 of those little stickers to cover a Rubik's Cube. That is surface area. It's the sum of all the areas of the cube or prism added together. In this case, it's simple because all the sides are the same. But for any prism, you can just basically follow these steps. Draw the shapes or nets that are used to build that prism. Find the area of each of those, and then add them up. Pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and get started with one tonight. Here we go. Find the surface area of this prism right here. Well, I'm giving you a net right off the go, but I think you can handle it. We can see that the base and the height of this triangle are 3 and 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. Half of that would be 6 units for this triangle, and of course 6 units for this one down here. This is the easiest one here. We got to find this square here, which is 3 times 3. That's a total of 9 units. This one over here, it's 5 by 3. So we multiply those together, we have 15 units squared for the bottom of this prism. This one over here, we have a total of 4 by 3. So we multiply those together, we have 12. We just take and add all of those guys up together. We get a total of 48 units squared. You still with me? Yeah, let's take a look at a little more traditional triangular prism. And I got to slide my picture over here to make this work, but I think you can handle it. So we have this triangular prism here, and we need to find the surface area of it. Well, you can see I drew out my little nets. I got a couple of triangles, and let's just start with those. We've got a base of 7 and a height of 8. So, 8 times 7 is 56. And we divide that by 2, we're going to get a total of 28. So we have 28 for each of those triangles. That's the area. It's the same as base times height. Or 1/2 base times height. I just divided instead of multiplied by 1/2 in that situation. Then down here, I'm just going to slide myself over again. We have to find the area of these 3 different rectangles that make up the sides of the prism. Well, the first one is 9 by 2, so there's my 18. The next one is 8 by 2. Well, that's going to give me 16. And the short side over here is 7 by 2. And that's going to give me 14. So if I add all those guys up together, slide myself back in, I'm going to go back in the corner. 28 plus 18 plus 16 plus 14, we have a total of 104 units squared. I think you've just about got this. But what if it's a more difficult type of prism? Could you still find the surface area? Let's take a look at this one. I'm not even sure what you call it, but this is basically a parallelogram that has been made into a prism, right? Could you do this? Think about what shapes you would need. All right, let's see. You're definitely going to need to have these two parallelograms on the end, and then you're going to have a bottom of the prism, and then a top, and then the two sides. So you can see how I just laid this out. I figured out what the base times the height was. My base times my height would be 8 units, or 8 meters squared in this case, for the two parallelograms. So that's 2 meters times 4 meters. Base times height is 8, so 8 and 8. This bottom is going to be 4 by 4, and I've got my measurements right over here, so that's 16. And of course the top has to be 16 as well. And then the two sides, we've got 4 by 2.5. And so those ones there are my 10s here, my smaller rectangles. And when I draw these out on a piece of paper like this, I try to be somewhat proportional, but really I'm looking for, do I have 4 different rectangles and a couple of different parallelograms here that I need to find the area of? And usually you're always doubling the base on it. So if we take and add those guys all up, we're going to get 8 plus 8 plus 10 plus 10 plus 16 plus 16. We're really looking at 16 plus 20 plus 32, which is a total of 68 meters squared. All right, I think it's time for you to try, Cole. Why don't you go ahead and try this one here. We'll start off easy. Find the surface area of this prism. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, let's see how you did. Well, if you drew out the net like I did, you'd have had it laid out like so, and you'd have a couple of sides that are, the bases were 6, and then we had a panel that was 18, a rectangle. It was 18 that was the area, one that was 30, and one that's 24. If you add those all up, it would be a total of 84, or 84 meters squared. Remember, surface area, because its area is always in units squared. All right, let's try this one, a little more challenging. Find the surface area of this prism, a trapezoidal prism, I believe it's called. Let's see how you did. Scroll down here a little bit and see, I made my little drawing. So there's my two trapezoid bases, and that's 1/2 the height, which is 2. 1/2 the height times the base plus the base. Well, really, 1/2 of 2 is 1, and the bases are 14. So really, the area of those two trapezoids are 14. Then I had to find the 1, 2, 3, 4 other rectangles. Well, we've got the big one that's on the back, and that's going to be 10 times 7, which is 70. You've got this one in the middle was the next biggest. That's going to be 4 times 7. That'll be 28. Plus you have these two sides, which are 3 times 7, which are 21. Add all those guys up. I'm doing some doubling here. I added in my 28. I put these together. Sorry, these are 28. Added these two guys together, or added this one is the 42. That's the two short, the smaller rectangles. And I added these two guys up. The two larger rectangles, I had 98. I got a total of 168 centimeters squared. I know it's a little bit of work, but conceptually, this is not that difficult. All right, let's take a look at your ticket to the show tonight. Find the surface area of this prism below. I'll give you a couple of seconds to write that down. Looks like we got 4 centimeters. We've got a side of 7 centimeters. We've got a height of 6 centimeters. And we've got a length of 12 centimeters. Be careful of the distractors. All right, let's get to the trivia question. Just for fun, how many football games are required for an NFL football game? It's 48. Each team needs to provide 24. So if the Vikings are playing the Packers, the Vikings would have to provide 24 footballs, and the Packers would have to provide 24 footballs. And this breaks down even further. The 24 breaks down into 12 game balls and 12 backup balls from the Vikings, 12 game balls and 12 backup balls from the Packers. And it's really very scientific here. They need to be delivered exactly 2 hours and 15 minutes prior to the kickoff, where they deliver those, and the game officials will go ahead and they'll check the PSI, they'll inspect them, they put a certain little symbol on there that represents that they're the ones who authenticated that football was ready to roll. Okay, it's kind of fun. The NFL uses about 24,960 official football games each season. That's 780 per team for game use. All right, and this is read from the NFL Handbook. I ain't making it up, folks. All right, have a great evening. Thanks for listening. Bye.